Hello students, welcome to Legacy IAS Academy. As we know that Prelims 2026 has concluded on 24th of May, and many of you would be feeling confused, hopeless, and also those of you who have appeared in this examination would be thinking about what would be the cutoff and whether you will be qualified or not. Those aspirants who are going to sit in the examination again next year or even for the first time, they might also be thinking that based on this year trend of UPSC prelims, should they change or modify their examination strategy, the way how they have been preparing for examination, should they again look into it, and what are the major takeaways, key takeaways you can basically think of by looking at this year paper. All of this we are going to discuss in detail in this particular video. Now, first of all, if you look at the general shift that we have witnessed in this particular paper, now see, generally whenever we're talking about UPSC, many people know that it is also called as unpredictable public services commission, and the reason is because every year or every alternate year, 2 years interval, you'll see some of the bouncer kind of questions, some of the new trend or pattern questions we see. So this is something expected. But what we are seeing this year is that predictability about UPSC paper questions, how it will be asked from any subject itself, is becoming less and less. That means you cannot say that in last 4 or 5 years that's how UPSC have asked question from this subject, this chapter is more important. Such kind of things will not work anymore. Questions are increasingly unpredictable, and at the same time question is not only testing the knowledge about your rote learning, it is also testing that whether the concepts you have learned, are you able to apply in the real life or not, are you able to analyze the given question from various different perspectives. Now definitely one general theme that we are seeing across all the subjects is there is a deep integration between the static part and the current affair part, and this is seen even in those core subjects where questions were more or less straightforward, such as polity. Every year we know that aspirants used to think that in polity, if you have 10 questions, at least 6 to 7 questions you can easily solve if you have gone through the basic books and all that. Now this year we are seeing complete different type of question. Only few questions out of, we can say, in polity itself you'll have maximum 2 to 3 questions that you could have easily solved by going to the standard books and all. In most of questions you either have to be aware about the recent development that is going on plus details about it. It's not that you can do just shallow reading, shallow study and then can solve those questions. You need to have a detailed in-depth understanding. And other is the candidates are facing greater uncertainty as far as attempting question is also concerned. Earlier, if you go through the prelims of 2016, 2017, 2018, people were basically attempting more than 85 to 90 questions also. That's why those years you have cutoff going in the range of 110, 116. In 2016, if you look, cutoff was 116, one of the highest cutoff in the recent history of UPSC CSE prelims examination. So now if you look at this particular year and the last couple of years, generally we can say that the cutoff is definitely going to go low. And if you ask people who have appeared in 2023 examination, they would say that that was the paper which was very unconventional, kind of tough in nature. And in 2023, cutoff was hovering for general category, we are talking about 75.44. That was the kind of cutoff. 24-25 questions were relatively easier compared to 2023 because first of all, the core subjects, their dominance we have seen again in the paper, and second, most of question could easily have been answered again in 24 and 25. For example, I can talk about geography. We have seen over 15 to 20 questions being asked in geography itself. So a lot of questions were being asked which is directly a statement picked up from NCERT itself. So if you have been thorough with NCERT, if you have clarity of basic concepts given there itself, you would be able to solve most of the questions, right? Even in many of the conceptual chapters, we have seen that if you do not understand the concept, but we have gone through the text written in NCERTs, then also you'll be able to mark correctly that whether it is a right option or not. Now that pattern completely has changed as far as 2026 is concerned. We have not seen any question that is being asked directly from the statements or the rhymes written in the NCERT or any textbook for that matter. So that is the changes we are witnessing. So 24-25 again cutoff was about 88 and 92. And if you look at 2026, first of all, the question was tough, definitely. Second, the weightage of core areas from where people used to expect easy questions such as history, modern history, its weightage has significantly reduced. We talk about the polity. Its questions were kind of tricky in nature, very difficult, unconventional in nature. And in the 2 hours that you get in the examination hall, while sitting in so much immense pressure, you have your entire career online. You are thinking about what would happen if you do not qualify the paper and all that. In that case, being calm and solving question become quite difficult compared to when you come out from the examination hall and take again a fresh look, or you do not have the pressure of the exam. Solving question become quite a different ball game. That's why my expectation is that if you take 2023 as a reference itself, that cutoff was 75. This year CSET was also relatively on a difficult side. We can say it was not easier definitely, and GS definitely was much more difficult, tricky. We can say if it is not difficult, at least we can say it was tricky, unconventional kind of question paper. So cutoff should be hovering somewhere between 70 to 75. So I would suggest that any of you who have appeared in the examination, if you're getting on the safer side anywhere above 70, without wasting time, without having too much discussions about cutoff and speculating about it, you should start preparing for the mains examination as soon as possible, because it is just 3 months ahead. So if by chance you are able to not even qualify this year, again this preparation would be helpful for you in the next year. And why I'm saying that, it is important point to remember that even when you are preparing for the mains examination, a new trend we are seeing emerging in the UPSC. That means the trend is what you can call as mains based question is being asked, like ethics. You study ethics mainly from mains perspective, and unconventionally what we are seeing, the general study itself, you have several questions that were directly indirectly related to the ethics paper of mains. You have the longer questions, very that require a lot of time and effort to read the entire question and think about it clearly. So help preparing for mains will definitely help you in next year prelims also. That is one thing we should be sure about. So that is the right approach for those of you who are getting above 70. Even if you're getting somewhere in the 70, you should start preparing anyway. But that should be the general cutoff for general category as far as this year examination is concerned. That is one of the possibilities. Now, time consumption per question, as we have discussed, definitely was much more higher on this side. Now, decline of predictable preparation. Now, when many of the students start preparing for the examination, they think that someone would tell me the shortcut, someone would tell me the conventional sources, that are basically fixed sources, that I have to study 10 book, 15 book. Once I am thorough with it, I should be able to qualify for prelims. Now, that is something you should not expect anymore. Traditional repeat PYQs and a score approach is gradually weakening even in the core areas. Current affairs anyway were kind of unpredictable in nature, but even in the traditional core areas, by looking at and repeating, by just going through the previous year questions and thinking that we'll focus only on those areas, that is not going to help you anymore in the examination. UPSC is introducing unfamiliar theme. Again, to reiterate, the question that was directly linked with ethics is the best example of it. Not with that, they also have changed the way how they're asking question. Many such questions were there where you have the statements that are given. Now, generally, UPSC used to ask whether these statements given are correct or incorrect. Now they are asking the relation between statements also. So questions have become much more lengthier. You have to spend more time in each of the question, and specifically if you try to attempt more and more question, there is a high chance you would be committing some sort of mistake as such. So trap questions, their numbers have increased significantly. Memorization alone is not going to give you any advantage, because we have seen the increase, and this is the general trend we are seeing. Though this year such questions are very high number, easy question that could be easily solved based on your rote learning, memory based learning, is not more than 20 in this year paper. 80 questions I can say is somewhere between moderate to hard, and many of those questions you have to use the concepts, you have to apply the concepts, then you can reach the answer as such, right answer as such. Adaptive thinking, thus we can say, is becoming more and more important. And most important is, now UPSC prelims examination is not only the test of your knowledge, it is also checking your temperament, how cool and calm you can be when you are subjected to such immense pressure, by looking at a question which is unpredictable, question paper which is unpredictable in nature, something where most of questions seem to be bouncer, especially if you're going to the first couple of questions or 5, 7, 10 questions as such in the beginning as such. So especially sitting in the examination hall in the we can say summer conditions, so that is the test of your temperament also, test of your personality also, and that's why the cooler and calmer you are able to keep yourself in the examination, higher would be the chance of success. Why? Again, because it is examination which is a competitive examination. Not have to score a certain amount of marks, you have to just score better than the other candidates, and The cooler you are, the calmer you are in examination hall, the probability of you committing silly mistakes, committing some easy mistakes, falling in the trap of the question, that would be minimal, and that's when you will have the advantage. So solving, again, mock tests become quite important here, that you should prepare yourself. Your mind should be completely in the game 2 to 3 months right before the prelims itself, and that's when you solve more and more tests, you attempt more and more tests, your mind is kind of adjusted to seeing such kind of random question. UPSC moving beyond rote learning, as you have discussed, question are demanding application of knowledge. Like for example, you would have seen a question being asked about the deep ocean mission as such. So deep ocean mission is directly linked to the resources. It can also be linked with the relief of ocean basin that we study. For example, the polymetric nodules we have talked about. So in that context, always we discuss that deep ocean mission is a program that is initiated by government of India. So this question were relatively on the moderate side. You need to know which ministry has initiated it, right? Other application based question we can think of was asked in the case of critical mineral as well as rare earth minerals they have asked. Now again, this is related to the natural resources chapter of geography, but it was not directly asked. Like earlier, if you look at the questions of last year, what they're asking, simple fact based question: which country is known for production of which of the mineral resources? So nickel, Indonesia, right or not? Cobalt, particular country. So that is how questions were asked before. Now this year, if you look, they are asking that which of these minerals are rare earth minerals, whether they are 13 in number, 17 in number. So they are checking facts also. Plus they are also trying to integrate it to the current affairs. How? Because they have asked about national critical mineral policy as such that the government has initiated. So that's what we are talking about. That is static plus current affairs linkage. We are seeing more and more linkages. Even the questions from the conventional areas are being interlinked with the current affairs, whether it is oceanography, whether it is the natural resources and economic geography as such. And also many such questions of environment you would see which require knowledge of geography, or many questions of geography are there where you could also solve by using some concepts from environment and ecology. So interdisciplinary linkage is also kind of becoming more common. Reading comprehension side GS has increased. That's what we have discussed, that paper seems to be lengthier in nature, and a lengthy paper, imagine paper is already lengthy, right? And you are getting panicked there. So when you are panicking, your mind is not able to concentrate on the question. So one question which you should have read 2 times, you will read 3 to 4 times, and that's where you will spend more time, you will panic more. That's why you should always think in the examination hall that whatever kind of paper you have been given with, it is for all people, it is same paper. That's why your advantage is to keep calm, trust in your preparation, and then by using logical reasoning, right, by using the partial knowledge from different areas, you can reach the right conclusion. In any way, you not have to solve the entire 100 questions, right? We have seen that whenever question paper are difficult, the cutoff ranges between 70 to 80. Okay, in cases where question paper was relatively predictable, the cutoff did not go even beyond 100, it was around 92. So that's why you have to focus on being more accurate in examination. Now, why conventional methods of study would not work or will fail? Because again, this is a repeated pattern. 2023 was unexpected. People were saying that how we can have such kind of questions. It was too difficult. How would we solve this kind of question? Right. That's why cutoff dropped to 75. Again, 24-25, you have a relatively easier paper. From the conventional topics, questions were asked. From the core areas, questions were asked. From the NCERT's, questions are being asked. Right. So then it becomes relatively easier. Again, in 26, you have reversal in theme. So those people who have taken 24-25 as reference, obviously 26 would look kind of difficult paper, but if you have looked at paper of 23, you would see that this is something that is expected of UPSC. Obviously, I'm not saying that this paper is something that you could have thought about this paper, you could have prepared about this paper. Many questions are there, no matter how much you study, you could not have prepared for. Example, many factual questions are being asked which does not make any sense, that how would you prepare about it. In the hindsight, anyone can go and say that, okay, from Press Information Bureau this question has been taken. The thing is that every day PIB is releasing so many this statements, so many reports are there. Are you expected to cover reports of last 2 years? Humanly, it is not possible. Your mind will not able to keep all the information, and even if 1-2 point you remember, there are so much details being asked, the year when a particular military operation, a particular UN mission came to an end, right? Those you are not expected to answer. Those are questions which is just to this play with your mind. You are expected to simply leave those and focus on those questions which you know about, which you have prepared well for. So excessive note making is becoming less effective. That means excessive means you are making notes from all the books that you have, from current affairs that you have, right? Because you have so much overload of information that reduces the retention. So rather than broadening your sources, you should focus first of all, obviously the basic is going to stay there no matter what kind of question paper UPSC asks. You cannot compromise with your basics. So now you cannot say that since because now UPSC has not asked direct question from NCERTs, next year I would not read NCERTs, I would skip it, right? Because again, who knows, maybe next year they will ask direct question from NCERTs. So the basic of preparation would remain same. Your foundation has to be strong, and that would be strong only through referring to the standard books, most importantly NCERTs, and then you have to build upon them. How? Now you should keep your sources limited, focus on revising more and more. Why I'm saying that we have to focus on revising more and more, and also the revision should not be passive in nature, because if you are just reading, right, you have taken geography today, you have read everything, you have taken history next day, you have read everything, economy, read everything, right? Current affairs you have given suppose 1-2 days, that you will revise everything of a week as such. The problem is that such kind of preparation is the kind of silo based preparation. You are not able to integrate one subject with other subjects. You're not able to integrate current affair with the natural resources part of economic geography. You're not able to relate the oceanography with the missions that government of India has launched, right? You have other subject, other topic on this, other question also that is related to the forecasting, Bharat forecasting system that IMD has developed, right? That is related to your monsoon, that is related to your climate of India as such. So when you are doing active revision, that means rather than the smugging up the facts, you are trying to think about it. When you think more, that's when your analytical ability will develop as such, right? So smart preparation here matters more than the volume of preparation. It does not matter how many hours you are putting into. Your effort should be in direction that help you in clearing the examination, rather than providing you with so much fact information that you feel overloaded as such. The static plus current affair integration, very, very important to remember here. This is something that we have seen definitely in this year question paper. Current affairs are now linked to the core concept as such, right? Environment questions require geography understanding. Political questions increasingly involve interpretation as such, right? Science questions are application based, like black box questions were asked. So that is something that is application based. Apart from that, also you have like missions, Sudarshan Chakra based questions are there. So those were relatively easier question. You could easily have solved those if you were attemptive in the current affair classes, if you're able to interlink various things. Separate preparation of static current affair is now insufficient. You should be preparing both of them in integrated manner, not in silos. Elimination technique, many times people think that I would use some shortcut even if I am not reading properly well. By looking at the question, I should be able to eliminate. Now definitely there are a few questions which you could have eliminated, but for that also you need to have application of mind. The question that was asked about the volcano, that is the name of volcano, and the question that was asked was asking such volcano which we have not seen in the news, right? Which we might not have covered from any sources. But based on your understanding of geography, that where is the global volcanic belt, circum-Pacific ring we study in the class, right? It's given in the NCERTs as well. So you know that where is the circum-Pacific ring, where you have the active volcanoes, the entire concept of plate tectonics. If you are able to apply it by logic, you can be able to say that okay, Ecuador for example seems to the only possible place where this particular volcano is situated, because two other countries there is no volcano. One country is there where the Andes mountain is so high that most of volcanoes has become dormant or extinct as such, right? So this is basically not only test of your mapping based knowledge, it is also test of how thorough is you are with understanding the concept of the geographic global distribution belt of volcano as such. Extreme options are now less common. Like for example, earlier people used to say that if it is written maximum, if it is written only, right, if it is written some kind of extreme statement, most of cases that would be incorrect as such. Now that is not true. If you take example of Uttar Pradesh based question, Uttar Pradesh is connected with maximum number of states in India. If you go through that particular type of elimination technique, you would mark it incorrect, but actually that option was correct, right? UPSC uses closely worded statements. Now, like for example, person with disabilities question, if you look, they have just changed the year on which the act was brought into. So instead of 2016, they have written 2018, for example. So such kind of closely worded statements make it more tricky, and you can only solve them if you have crystal clear understanding of your facts of the concepts. Multiple options appear partially correct. Intelligent risk taking has become essential. Now, obviously, you cannot play safe as well. That I would attempt just 30 questions, right? Because even if you are sure that these 30 questions are correct, Even if 1-2 questions are incorrect, you would be out of race. So you have to attempt certain minimum number of questions, at least those questions where you are able to eliminate 2 options. So you have 50% chance of being correct as such. So that's where you have to take the risk. Intelligent risk taking does not mean that you are marking that A, B, C, D, I think it should be C. A, B, C, D, I think it should be B, right? Your intelligent risk taking is picking such questions in the second iterations where you are able to eliminate at least 3 options. 2 options anyway. If you're able to eliminate only one option and you feel that you have attempted very few questions, then you can further go to and see that which 3 options you want to mark as correct. So that is becoming essential, because again the cutoff cannot go very low, less than 50 or less than 60 as such, no matter how many difficult questions are being asked, because it is a relative examination. Rise of analytical and statement based questions we have seen increasing, as well as style questions obviously are there. Statement combinations they are asking. Now this year what they have changed, earlier in 2023 you have the beginning of questions where they're asking option only 1, only 2, only 3, only 4. That means you need to know everything about all the statements. They have tried to make it easier this year by removing such kind of options, but at the same time they have tried to make the question lengthier by giving first options, then statement based on those options, based on the interlinkages, and then finally you have the option that you have to mark as correct. Question test interpretation, not memory. Logical reasoning inside general studies is also rising. That's why the accuracy of aspirant might be falling as well. Questions are becoming mentally exhausting. Intelligent guessing has become quite difficult as well, because many options, if you look, were very close in nature. The extreme statements have been used in those statements which seems to be correct as such. Plus you have the pressure of time, you have the pressure of your entire career, you have the pressure of your future also, and in those cases most of aspirant think that they have marked very less, they should keep taking chances, and that's where the negative marking comes, which further punishes over attempting. So that's why maintaining a balance becomes quite critical, that you should neither attempt too much questions, right, more than 90-95 in such kind of paper, neither nor you should attempt very less question, that your chance of success itself become less. So guesswork you'll have to do, but intelligent guesswork where you're able to eliminate at least 50% of option. Overall we can see UPSC now seems to be rewarding depth rather than overall broad coverage, right, because they're asking also in missions such questions which you need to have a lot of information about. Emerging characteristic of new prelims pattern, that's what we can say, that the number of such questions has continuously increased. Now what future aspirants must change, we have to summarize. We'll say shift from rote learning to analytical learning. Again, that you would be able to do if you have revised all the subjects properly 2 to 3 times. Then only after 1 to 3 revisions you will be able to make interlinkage. You cannot start interlinking chapters from same subject, or even interlinking between different subjects without completing at least 60-70% of your syllabus. Practice deeper PYQ analysis. For example, a few questions are there where you are expected to answer it, like a state of hormones question. If you look, this was a question that is based on the previous year pattern. If you make such question incorrect, mark such questions incorrect, that means your chance of success itself is very less, because difficult questions are difficult for everyone, but these questions are the serious aspirants, the will be able to mark it correct. So you have the pattern, like for example, Afghanistan was in news, right? They asked which are the bordering countries of Afghanistan. Ukraine was in news. They asked which of the countries do not have border with Ukraine. Next year, you have Strait of Hormuz continuously in news since 2025 because of the war-like situation. So you're expected to know which are countries that are situated around the Strait of Hormuz. And similarly, question was based on that. Improve reading speed and comprehension, that is something you have to do. In CSAT anyway, you are having lengthy comprehension. So now they are trying to put the similar kind of situation in the general studies itself, where you have to read questions as fast as possible and read with understanding, not just reading itself. So improvement of such is required while you're preparing for the next stage of next year examination. Focus on revision instead of excessive sources. Again, this goes without saying. Build intelligent elimination skill. We have discussed about that. So based on this, what we can say, final conclusion, that UPSC prelims is definitely, it has entered a tougher phase, and 23 was example of it, 26 example of it. We cannot say that it will not be repeated in 2027. We might be, or we must be ready for some other kind of bouncer in 2027 itself. Now no matter how much you say that it is not logical or it is injustice and all, the truth is that you have to attempt the examination, and whatever question UPSC is given, you have to be giving, you have to be ready for it. So that's why it is entering a tougher phase. The better you accept, the easier it will be for you if you are able to accept it soon and then prepare accordingly. Future toppers will be those who think better under pressure. Again, to revise, to reiterate, in the examination now it seems that UPSC is not just checking your knowledge, it is also checking that how would you fare if you are put to extreme pressure, if you are put in a tough spot, tough situation, in the unpredictable scenarios, right? You have gone to the examination hall thinking at 24, 25, this kind of questions will be asked. Suddenly you are seeing that nothing is true anymore. History, polity, on which you used to have dependency, those have been also made difficult to attempt. The questions like the topics or the subject like geography, where you have the predictable kind of question coming from the concept based learning, such as climatology, geomorphology, right? Those questions also have become lesser this year as such, plus linkage between studying current affairs have increased. So you have to prepare for next examination with this particular mindset itself. This is the reality of the examination, and this is what you are expected to face.